Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Chiron Collective Podcast. I am your host, Derek Salto, and today we are going to get into talking about eating this and not that. When you go places, it's kind of hard to decide what is actually healthy and what is not. And so I'm going to dive into that. But before I get into that, we're going to go head first into what my actual routine is, my supplement routine. And just to give you a complete, transparent script here, this is if everything is perfect. If I have a perfect day, this is basically what it's going to look like, from routine to time that I train, supplements, all the things. So get a pen and paper and we're going to dive into this. So first thing is I wake up about 4:20 in the morning. I'll have about 16 to 20 ounces of water. Maybe I'll throw in some electrolytes. And then I'll head to the gym around like 4:40, 4:45 in the morning. And then 5 o'clock I coach, and then 6 o'clock I coach. After that, I'll head home. I'll have my first meal probably around 7:20. In all honesty, and this is just a subtle shout out to our friends over at 3 in the Tree. I grab my wife a coffee before I head home. So I'll get her a coffee, head home. I would typically have, again, this is if I had a perfect day, 3 eggs. I'm gonna have some avocado on sourdough bread. And then maybe or maybe not, I'll have a little bit of coffee too. One thing we've been messing with, we've been testing out some mushroom coffee. I'm not gonna drop any names yet, but we've been working on that. But as soon as I'm done there, we head out, take our kids to school, gotta get them to school by 8 o'clock. I'm coaching by 9 o'clock. And then I'll have a snack around 10, something quick, something light, don't eat a lot because I'm gonna eat lunch here in a little bit. But I'll have like a Greek yogurt, maybe some berries in it, something with a high amount of protein, but still a low amount of fat. And I'll get into that more specifically here in a sec. Around 11 o'clock is when I'm gonna have lunch. Typically when I do that, I would say chicken is a big thing that I focus on. I'll have chicken there, probably about 6 to 8 ounces of chicken, depending on how much protein I really need for the day to start off. And then I will have some rice. Typically, I'm good with white rice or jasmine rice. And then I'll have maybe steamed broccoli or something with asparagus. I like broccoli and I like Brussels sprouts too, so I'll mix it up however I want to there. I also don't like frozen. I would rather have things baked because I like a little char to my vegetables. Around 11:30 is when I'm gonna have my pre-workout, so I'm gonna prime that up here. This is little teasers here for some very, very cool and exciting things we've got going on here at Chiron HQ. Should I call it that? But the first thing is my pre-workout, which is gonna have some caffeine, some citrulline, some beta-alanine, some nootropics in there, along with some HCl, creatine HCl. If you're not taking a creatine, every single person listening to this podcast, regardless of age, obviously don't do it under 18, but or under 16, 15, somewhere in there, probably 18. Let's be safe, 18. Should be taking a creatine monohydrate, but if you're somebody who's like, I don't want the bloat, the water bloat that comes with it, then HCl is gonna be a great option for that. So in the pre-workout, we're going like around 2 grams. Then I'm training. I train with our noon class every single day on repeat. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it's part of my schedule. So that's a pro tip for you. Even if you are a business owner or you are somebody who is in a Fortune 500 company or anything like that, like you need to make sure that you're scheduling time for yourself just like you schedule a business meeting. It is time that you can focus on you and you cannot forget that. Hey guys, if you're still there, these glasses from Centric, this hoodie from Centric, if you want some, use code SALTO20 and get your next pair. The next thing, after I get done around 1:30 with our workout, I usually have a post-workout shake. I typically would go for a protein isolate, and the reason for it is it's going to be quicker digesting, but it's going to absorb better as well. So I'll match that up with a creatine HCl again. So that way I'm getting around 4 grams, which would be perfect. If you're doing monohydrate, 5 grams is gonna be great. Then I'll have a glutamine supplement along with maybe a little bit of colostrum in there for recovery. And then I'll throw in a banana, because it's got good carbs and it's also going to restore some of my glycogen. People don't understand this, and this is just, you take some of these things with a grain of salt. I am somebody who trains super hard. And so for me to take in some sort of sugar during a training session post-training session is actually going to feed my muscle. People don't understand that's one of the things. But 3 o'clock, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but 3 o'clock, I'm having another protein shake and maybe a couple slices of chicken that I've already grilled up earlier in the day. Along with that, I'll probably have some fruit, maybe a rice cake in there, just because rice cakes, depending on how you use them or how you make them, they're going to be delicious. 4:15 I coach, 5:15 I coach, 6:15 I coach. 7:30 I'm having dinner, something high, moderate in the fat, low in the carbs, just because my metabolism and your metabolism starts to slow down. As we get around 7 o'clock, depending on if you're some people that do intermittent fasting, depending on how you guys do that, your metabolism slows down at a certain time. So if you know those windows, then you obviously have to eat in those windows, but about 8:30 would be my late night snack. Mind you, I don't eat until 7:30 in the morning, so it's a decent window in there for me. Other than that, going into my supplement stack, just quickly, it is I usually take a vitamin D and a vitamin K. Every single person needs to take a vitamin D. And again, we've got something coming very soon with that. The next thing, magnesium. If you're somebody who has a really tough time with cramping, or if you have a tough time with sleep, one big thing is if you're taking maybe a melatonin, one thing instead of, or if that's not working, instead of doing melatonin, you can do is get magnesium into your system. That will help with sleep, it will help with recovery, and just your overall well-being. So there's that little tip. Zinc, it helps with testosterone. For those of you guys who do struggle with testosterone production, zinc is actually going to be helpful for that, around 30 milligrams. And if you do that in the evening. The next thing would be omega-3s, around 2,000 milligrams of that. That's just going to be great for joint health, but also for inflammation. Beating yourself up on a day-to-day in the gym, it does require you to do things outside of that 1 hour window that you typically train. And most people underutilize the recovery and over-focus on the training. So pro tip there. The last thing is going to be my protein shake. Again, it's a whey protein. It's 25 to 30 grams of protein in there, depending on if I add anything in. But obviously that's going to be for supporting lean muscle mass and muscle recovery. The pre-workout, like I said earlier, if you did not take this down, write this down, about 6 grams of L-citrulline, 3.2 grams of beta-alanine. That's going to basically help give you that third lung type of feel. And then 200 milligrams of caffeine. I don't want 300 plus, 400 some odd. I just don't see the benefit in that, especially with any sort of high intensity training program that you're doing, High Rocks or CrossFit or any of those. You don't want to have something that's going to skyrocket your heart. You want to have something you can regulate well and then move from there. I do have a pump factor within my pre-workout as well, just to help with endurance and max power output. And then a little nootropic blend in there just to help with mental clarity and focus. And then finally, again, the creatine HCl. It's 2 grams flat in the pre, and then I'll have 2 grams in the post. Next is to talk about what most people are here for, figuring out what I should have at places that are in town. So this is not just a random general guide. This is specifically what's in town. So if you look at Starbucks, we spoke about Starbucks in the last podcast. Instead of having a double smoked bacon, cheddar, and egg sandwich, even though it may be delicious, have a classic oatmeal. Or one thing you guys could do is you can order their egg whites. I think they have spinach and a pepper egg white. And you get 2 of those. And then you also would have their, I believe it's their turkey egg white cheddar sandwich. They use a lighter cheese on that one. And then you have those 2, and that is going to give you 40 grams of protein and only 400 calories. So if you're somebody who's counting calories or counting macros, that would be essential for you to know. Instead of having the double smoked bacon, cheddar, and egg sandwich, that's going to be over 500 calories and There you go. So compare the two, you get more bang for your buck. That one only would give you, if you did the double smoked bacon sandwich, that would give you only 21 grams of protein, compared to if you did the egg whites and the other egg white sandwich, 400 calories and 40 grams of protein. So pro tip there. Instead of the certain drinks, certain trade outs for drinks, we have something special coming along with that we'll announce in the next episode, with a drink that you'll be able to get from Starbucks that will be lower in the calories and it'll be higher in the protein and not rough on the gut. So for now, instead of having a white chocolate mocha, something that you guys can do is have that along with you can get a little bit of non-fat milk with this other option, but instead of the white mocha, get the cafe latte. Get the cafe latte, get a little bit of that non-fat milk in there, and then that's only going to be about 130 calories and 12 grams of protein. So there's that part. Chick-fil-A. This makes my wife sad. So the one thing with this is I like Chick-fil-A for the most part. I think there are good options that you can do. Now, if you're the person who's like, well, I'm still going to eat there, that's fine. It's chicken, so it's good for me. Just so you know, and this is just for your information, like I said, take this with a grain of salt. In their grilled chicken nuggets alone, just the grilled nuggets, there are 39 ingredients in there. I'm not saying that's necessarily a terrible thing, but it's not the best thing. However, it is better than the latter, which is their breaded chicken nuggets. So comparison here. So the original chicken sandwich here, I'm going to go to chicken sandwich and then I'll talk about the nuggets again here in a sec, but the chicken sandwich has 420 calories and 25 grams of protein. If you switch that out and instead have the regular grilled chicken sandwich with no breading, 320 calories and 28 grams of protein. Again, it's all about choices. I'm not saying that you need to be perfect when you eat. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy one of their sandwiches from here and there, that delicious dipping sauce that they have. But it's learning how to make better choices as we go along. The next thing is with their grilled nuggets. So if I get an 8 count, just their normal grilled nuggets, that's going to be 130 calories and 25 grams of protein. If I flip that and I go with their fried nuggets, that's 250 calories and 27 grams of protein. But you're like, but it's more protein. Yes, it's more protein, but it's also more calories. And for people that are trying to understand how do they make healthier choices, how do I get myself back to a weight where I feel confident myself again, you have to learn how to make these small changes, even though they may not be the most satisfying things. You have to almost learn how to die to your own flesh. If you're trying to change your life, you need to learn how to die to your own flesh. And that's really difficult to do. The next thing, off of the Chick-fil-A menu, instead of having a Cobb salad with the fried chicken nuggets, which is 740 calories with 40 grams of protein, opt to have the market salad with grilled chicken, which is over half the calories less with 330 calories and still 27 grams of protein. So the next time you guys go to Chick-fil-A, hopefully you guys can utilize some of these and make better choices there. Most people in this town are obsessed with Mexican food, my wife included, and that's okay. So if you go to a Mexican restaurant in town, instead of having a beef chimichanga or a queso fundido, make different choices to have something like grilled chicken fajitas. Grilled chicken fajitas are great. I'm gonna get my meat, I'm gonna get my protein, I'm gonna get some veggies in there. All you have to do is simply ask not to have so much salt added onto it. Another thing that people don't understand is that if you go to a restaurant, a lot of the times, along with the seasoning that that's already put on it when it comes to the facility, they will put more on it as they cook it. So then, in a normal meal, most of the time, some people are getting around 2,000 milligrams of salt, which then that's more than the average American diet needs. And you've already met it in one meal. You have the rest of the day, or maybe you got 2 more meals left. You're gonna need to make sure that you're drinking enough water to basically counteract the 2 things. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Chiron Collective Podcast. A couple little plugs that I wanted to put out there. A company I work with closely, Centric, they offer men's apparel, shorts, tops, all the things. Go check them out on Instagram. But also, if you guys could, subscribe to our YouTube at the Chiron Collective Podcast, and also on TikTok and Instagram as well. And if you want to check some additional things out, go check out Chiron Built, and we'll talk to you soon. If we're looking at like the chips and the chips and salsa and whatnot, those chips are fried. Fried food in general is just not great for you, including the chips that everybody loves to just dive into. I think that they have an allowance. Do you know that? Did you know that, Oz? They have an allowance of the amount of baskets of chips you can get now. I think it should be 2 max, and then you got to be cut off. It's just helping people. But another option, instead of just getting maybe the chicken, maybe chicken's not your jam, maybe you like seafood, you could do shrimp ceviche. You could have something like that. It's a little lighter option, around 200, 300 calories, and then 20 grams per serving. So there's another option there. A couple questions that I had brought to my attention while people are out to dinner. The gal asked, what are the best high protein options at most restaurants? And simply put, you need to ask restaurants for the basics: your chicken, your beef, your shrimp, things of that nature. Something that's going to be high in protein. Fish, like salmon, is wonderful. Egg-based options would be great for bread bowl, or for bowls, excuse me, not bread bowls. You don't want that. You ever had a bread bowl? Off topic, but Perkins, man. Back in the day, Perkins bread bowl. Do you remember those?
Pretty sure they had a broccoli and cheese bread bowl.
Yeah. All right, like I said, back to the topic. Egg-based breakfast bowls would be great at any sort of little cafe that we have around town. Along with that, having something when you're at a Mexican restaurant, again, the fajitas would be great. A Greek yogurt would be great. But a lot of times, like when you go to places that are in town, there just are not a lot of options. So unfortunately, you have to make sure that you educate yourself enough to understand like the basics. And hopefully this is helping you understand some of the basics. I will, however, I'm going to highlight one place in town that I feel does an excellent job with kind of customizing the way that you can eat and eat healthy and also not break the bank doing it. So the next question was, how do I make healthier choices at fast food restaurants? Honestly, stop going to them. That would be the quickest way to make better choices. Stop going to them. Learn how to make your own food. If I'm being completely honest, learn how to make your own food. For the price that it costs you to get your make whatever meal, you could easily get 2 pounds or a pound of beef and make your own burgers at home. And so, in all seriousness too, I also know that not everybody is going to take that advice and stop eating at fast food restaurants, because in being a business owner, gym owner for the past 12 years, I know certain things for a fact do not happen. I can say something, but a lot of times it goes in one ear and out the other. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just the honest truth. And I'm not going to give you any fluff. So instead of fries, swap it out for fruit. We do that all the time with our kids whenever we have gone to Chick-fil-A. And another option would be a side salad instead of fries. Granted, you have to be watchful of the dressings that you put on it. That's a whole nother thing, is there's a lot of sugar pumped into dressings. Salads are meant to, are put out there to be known as healthy. Whereas if you're going to do those types of things, then you need to be making sure that you are, loading it up with protein. And maybe instead of having them put the dressing on top of the actual salad, have it on the side. Like, ask for things on the side so you can manage how much of the dressing you decide to use, which again, that's portion control, if you understand that. Considering grilled just over fried, or lettuce wraps over a bun, or anything of that nature, a diet soda over a normal soda. If you're the person who has to have pop, I always would suggest something of the nature of diet or zero sugar rather than the actual full-on Coke itself. But Next question was, are grilled options always better than fried? 100%. I don't even know why I wrote that down. Generally, I would say yes. Generally. There are other options, however, and this is another thing I've been working on, is getting you guys recipes that are going to be higher in protein in terms of breading. But again, it's something you learn how to make at home. I can't express enough like how much stuff is pumped into our foods, not even just from the basis of like pumped into our chicken and our beef and all of these things. That's why it's so important to be watchful of like how do I buy a quarter of a cow, or how do I connect with a local farmer to get my eggs, or to get my chicken and get my beef and all of these things. So yes, generally speaking, grilled meats are going to be better than fried. Plain and simple. Next one, how much sodium is in a common restaurant meal? Again, I talked about this earlier, but it's 2,000 milligrams is normal for typical places. Like my family and I, we went to Olive Garden last night, and I had a few breadsticks. Granted, it's okay to enjoy life. I'm not saying you can't ever have bread or anything like that. Bread has never bothered my stomach, thankfully. But typically, in any of those dishes, you're going to see 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of salt. And so one thing that I did to make sure that I was not over-consuming in the sodium is I made sure that I was drinking enough water to kind of offset the amount that was coming in. Granted, we don't eat like that all the time, but that's something that's important. Again, you can always ask for them to not add salt to your meal or to the chicken when chicken's being cooked. So take that and make sure you use that next time. What should I order if I'm trying to lose weight, but I still want to feel full? This can be, this is kind of difficult just because like typically our breads are going to make us feel full. So lean protein plus a fiber equals, it's satiating is basically what I'm saying. So stick to grilled meats, a salad, something rich in fiber like steamed vegetables or beans or whole grains. If whole grains aren't in your meal plan, if you want to call it that, maybe you're gluten-free, try to stay away from that. But steamed vegetables and beans, like black beans, are great, and they also have some protein within them as well. Start with broth-based soups or a side salad. So to help reduce hunger before a main meal, do those two things, something with broth or just maybe a smaller side salad. Again, ask for the dressing on the side so you can control your portions. Next one, how do I avoid hidden calories in meals? Skip the bread basket. Could I have skipped the bread basket yesterday at Olive Garden and not had 5 of those bad boys? 100%. But it was a long day. We didn't eat much during the day. We kind of were just hanging out with our kids. But try to avoid the bread basket. It's higher calories, but then also the appetizers. Appetizers typically are very high calorie as well. So whenever we go to a restaurant, everybody knows what they want, and we just make sure we order right away, so that way there's no longer wait time. I mean, ultimately, none of us do that when we're at home. We don't sit there and, hey, I need to make an appetizer before I eat this meal. Like most of us just make the dinner and we prepare it and we get it all set up for the family and everybody eats together. So just try to avoid appetizers if you can. Again, grilled, steamed, or roasted over fried is always a smart option. Swap creamy dressings for vinaigrette or olive oil / vinegar-based dressings. And watch extra cheese, butter, and oil. The one thing I will do when I go to this restaurant, we normally go to, I'm just going to shout out to them, it's Zamerix, is I will make sure that they have an off-menu item. It's called the Mediterranean. The best thing. It was one of the best things on their menu. Not on their menu. But the one thing I will ask is I will ask for them not to put as much olive oil on it, because towards the end of it, when I would pull back, there was a lot of oil on the bottom. So it's just, again, it's one of those things. Some people want that. I don't. So I'm going to make sure that I ask them to help me to meet my personal goals and to stay away from so much oil. So there's that part. Is eating out regular bad for my health if I choose healthy options? I think if you make mindful choices when you do go out to eat, I think you can do those things without harming yourself. Now, I will tell you that you're going to spend a heck of a lot more money eating out than you will buying the groceries and learning how to make stuff at home. But again, I know that for a lot of us, it's convenient. So in that convenience, it's important to make sure that I make healthier choices too. What are the worst menu items in order in terms of calories and quality? Loaded nachos. Yeah. Loaded nachos, fried appetizers, pasta dishes, creamy sauces, all of those things are going to be like calorie bombs. So if you go out to places like that, I would honestly suggest for the most part not going out to places like that. If you can avoid certain things of that nature, get away from that. Or buffets, certain smoothies. Man, I could throw some things under the bus right now with smoothies and the lack of transparency to what's actually in these things, how much sugar is in these items. But I don't have enough time because there's too many. So we'll avoid that part. But how do I balance eating out for my overall health? Understand it like this. It's probably the simplest thing. You've heard it thousands of times, the 80-20 rule. Eat clean most of the time and enjoy a treat now and then. I like ice cream. I do. I don't like the, I don't care for the, what was it, Halo Top. I don't care for Halo Top. The reason being is like if I'm gonna have ice cream, I'm gonna have the real thing. I'm gonna have the real thing. I'll take the full fat, I'll take the whole milk style, like whatever. I'll have it like that. Or if you can do it one better, you will go get yourself a Ninja Creamy. A Ninja Creamy, you can learn how to make your own ice cream, have it high protein, but have it still be something that is a tasty treat, but it still helps meet your goals. So there's that. Now she's gonna go buy that.
I tried already.
Next is understanding too, is check a menu before you go. A lot of times we just go to the place where, maybe the kids want to go and we don't get a chance to check out and see what their menu has. And then we get there and there's no option for us. So check the menu before you go and that'll help you have a better strategy. Prioritizing protein is going to be massive always, and fiber. Most people do not get enough fiber in their diet, so they're not regular on the toilet, which is not good. So making sure that you're regular there, getting enough fiber is going to be important as well, and always portion control. Are low calorie or healthy menu items really better for you? Not necessarily. Sometimes when you look at you see the stuff at the store that says that there's low fat or zero fat. A lot of times the latter of it means that there is more sugar that's pumped into them. And if you didn't know this, there are now more than 52 different names for sugar, and it is absolutely atrocious that sugar's disguised like that in our food, in products that are pumped to us like they're supposed to be the best thing ever for us. And so it's important to understand that you educate yourself, because food is not the same as when your grandma was a kid. And so saying you eat just like grandma did, well, it's just not the same anymore. So that's something that we hope to see change here in the future. But do restaurant meals contain more additives and preservatives than homemade food? I would say yes. Most fast food chains or chain restaurants use preservatives, flavor enhancers, and added sugar to make the taste much better. So it's important to make sure, again, that we educate ourselves on that. Home cooked meals are always going to be better. Every single time that I've ever had food from my mom, like home cooked meal from my mom, phenomenal. It's important to make sure that you learn how to cook food. It's so simple. There are other options out there that you guys could do. You could become a professional going to YouTube University and learning how to cook a chicken breast. Or this glorious thing that they've invented called an air fryer does it for you. Press the button to where it says chicken and bam, you got yourself a juicy chicken breast in like 17 to 20 minutes. But the next question here, What's the best strategy for portion control when dining out? Order half a portion or share a portion. I've talked with plenty of people, plenty of couples that just choose to get a bigger item on the menu and they cut it in half and they share it. That's something. Use a half a plate rule where you eat half of it there and you save half of it for another meal the next day. That's a great option. Skip the high calorie extras. Again, we talked about that earlier with the breads and the chips or fries. Eat slowly. It's not going anywhere. I see people eat and you're just like, easy, slow down. It's like, this isn't the Last Supper, man. So it's important to make sure that you are mindful of that as well. I wanted to share with you guys a couple of case studies that I thought were interesting. So healthy smoothie traps. So a case study found that some restaurant smoothies contain more sugar than a large soda, which is bonkers to me because we're supposed to be, these smoothies or these shakes are being displayed as the option to keep things under wraps, to keep things healthy. A healthy smoothie places would be like Jamba Juice or Smoothie King, or I've even seen this in some Herbalife nutrition shops where we know, my wife and I know how these shakes are made, but there are nutrition shops that make them entirely different. So the protein count and the caloric count for how these smoothies are supposed to be made are not what they're actually made with. And it's not helping the person who's coming in for that healthy option. And so it's important to know and understand how to do these things ourselves. Ultimately, we have to educate ourselves. At the end of the day, you have to learn how to educate yourself to know what is going to be safe for you, what is going to be best for you. At the end of all of this, my goal, as usual, is to give you the knowledge that you need to be successful. And so if you took anything from this, my hope is that you understand that you need to be responsible when you go to dinner somewhere. You need to be responsible when you go to the store even. Stay on the perimeter. That's one of our next episodes here. We're going to be actually going into a grocery store, a local grocery store here, and showing you guys how to eat. So a couple shout outs. Shout out to my friends over at Centric. This is one of their hoodie tops. Pair of their glasses right there. The other shout out that I want to make to kind of give you guys a heads up on is Zamerix. Zamerix is the Mediterranean bowl that I was talking about earlier. That is a part of their secret menu, if you want to call it that. We'll be showing you guys a little sneak peek of that here soon. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening. This is the Chiron Collective Podcast.